oh wow, look at all these dinosaurs. And they look at this one, they're like, wow, look at this one. And then it's like eye moves. And it's like that. Comes out.
Oh, it's a deep cut.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Dads of Dagobah. This is the season finale of season 3 of The Mandalorian. Season 3.5 of The Mandalorian. Chapter 24. Sean, big question right off the bat. Is that the end of the show? Is the show over?
I think it could be, but I don't think it will be.
I'm going to do an Elmo. What are you talking? What could there possibly be?
Like what else?
Yeah, what else?
I don't know. What about Din Grogu's apprenticeship?
How is that compelling? How is that compelling to me?
There's plenty. I feel like they'll come up with something.
You're excited. Okay, so you're saying after watching that season finale, you're excited for another season of this.
These are completely different questions. Asking me if the show is over and asking me if I'm foaming at the mouth excited for what's happening next is different.
Enough. Okay, fair enough. Now I'm going to ask you this. Are you foaming at the mouth ready for what's next?
No.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah, I think, well, okay. The broad context of this in my mind is Mando works within a universe, a universe contained within the Star Wars universe, which is the Mandoverse of Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka,
Ezra, Thrawn.
Yes.
Moff Gideon.
So could we see the Ahsoka show happen and then that lead to a Mandalorian season 4 that like ties into, okay, this is how it all connects? And then at Star Wars Celebration a couple weeks ago, we just got this announcement that Dave Filoni will be directing a live-action Star Wars movie that will be kind of the culmination cinematic event that ties all of these shows together.
That's what I'm so confused about. With that knowledge in my head, I was watching the show going, what are they setting up? And they just kept wrapping up bows left and right, and I'm like, what are they setting up? What are they? There's nothing. I mean, yes, there's this Mando and Grogu, Din Grogu go on adventures. That's not what I suspect is going to happen. Is Ahsoka is just going to pick up from here. Ahsoka is going to be Mandalorian 3.75.
Here's what I don't think that they left a lot of breadcrumbs in that season finale, but from last week's episode, which spoiler alert for fans of the Dads of Dagobah, we didn't do a review of last week's episode. But what if we could spend the next another 3-4 seasons of The Mandalorian, and Mando and Grogu could just go around and be picking off each member of that Shadow Council.
Okay.
I mean, he could just be tracking them down.
I stuck around for all 12 minutes of credits thinking, there's got to be something.
Bruh, this is on Disney Plus. You can fast forward. You sat and let them run?
The problem is, it was casting from my phone, and if I try and fast forward on my phone, it doesn't work very well. If I try to drag the little thing,
Fair enough.
There were not. I watched all the credits, Japanese, Czech, all of them.
But after last week in the Shadow Council, and then this week, and him going to the New Republic at the end of the episode, Mando going to the New Republic and saying, "Hey, I want to work for you on a case-by-case basis." Basically, you don't have the resources to track down Imperial remnants. Let me do that for you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there a tangible cliffhanger for us? No. But I think it's open-ended enough to where they can do something else.
Sure. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Hey, do you have any more jobs for me to do? Because our writers are out of ideas. Which I don't think is the case at all. What I'm looking for in a season finale, not a series, like that felt like a series finale. A season finale is, what's the hook? We've talked about this many times. Season 1, it was him getting out of that TIE fighter with the Darksaber. We're like, holy cow, this is about to get crazy. Season 2, Luke takes Grogu. And we're like, holy cow, what's about to happen? Season 3, Gideon's dead. Mandalore has been restored, or getting there, you know. Looks like happy times for Mandalore. IG-13 is now the Marshal. And then we have Din and Din living on Navarro. Happy.
Yeah, when were we all going to learn that Din was his last name?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming. Grogu Jaren.
Seriously.
Okay, I'm glad. Seems like we're on the same page here then. Now let's talk about it. I thought it was a fun episode. I thought it was well executed. I thought many times, this Moff guy, he's going to win, and that's going to be the cliffhanger, you know, because that was legit. That was a good fight.
I thought that someone was going to die. I mean, I thought that maybe Bo. For a second, I thought maybe Mando might die. You know, there had been all these like rumors that came up recently again that like Pedro Pascal is like there's drama or something between him and the.
Oh, I didn't see those rumors. I saw the rumors of he was going to get mind flared.
Oh, no. Anyway, I don't know, but I don't know if there's any truth to all that stuff. But so I'm like, they're gonna kill him off, and the Mandalorian just gonna be a Bo-Katan show now? Like, I don't know. But I do think last week's episode and this week's episode were both really, really good. I thought they were strong episodes. I agree with you. The whole time watching this week's episode, I knew it was a season finale, and I thought this is a really, really great episode. And yet, I'd be interested to hear what you think about this. And yet, I feel like something was like missing from this season.
Yeah, the Mythosaur maybe.
Well, we got to see him twice. We got to see him again. So
opened his eyes yet again.
Right. So even though there were some really great episodes this season and there were some great moments and it was a really strong season finale episode, I don't know. I just felt like it was solid, but it wasn't as great as I thought it would be. The season overall.
Yeah. I would agree. After last week's episode, I said to my wife, finally, we're getting somewhere. We're tying stuff together. Yeah. And I understand. Listen, I understand this is a TV show, but like when your main villain is gone for 6 episodes, I don't enjoy those types of shows. When it's, oh, this pirate guy, dead. Oh, it's this guy, dead. Oh, it's Moff Gideon. Oh, why couldn't we just have him the whole time? You know? Let us, the audience, know, oh, he's still around, but the other people in the story don't know. We can see his little shadow council doings, you know? That's what was missing. Those 10 minutes in the Shadow Council, that was the best part of the whole season.
Let me just ask you this, and I'm about to lead you on a journey right now.
Oh boy.
And we may lose if we got an average of about 25 viewers per episode of this podcast, we might lose about 18 of them right here. Okay.
We talking about Darth Jar Jar again? What are we doing?
No. In your opinion, there are 3 seasons of The Mandalorian now. Yep. Forget Book of Boba Fett. the three installations of The Mandalorian, which season do you think was the best season?
Season 2.
I 100% agree. 100%
Easy.
agree. So
What viewers are we losing over that question?
No, because now that I have established that foundation, now I'm gonna throw an analogy at you. That the Mandalorian show is a mirror of the 3 Star Wars trilogies. Season 1 being the prequels, Season 2 being the original trilogy, clearly the best, and Season 3 being like, all right, there's some like good moments and like it kind of has some things going for it, but overall didn't land for me.
At least they finished off the 3rd season strong. With the sequel trilogy, they just were like, let's just throw it all into a dumpster and light it on fire.
But, the fact that the season 3 of The Mandalorian, we didn't even like see Moff Gideon until the second to last episode. Oh,
right. We did have that ship reveal that, he escaped.
Oh, yeah,
we did see that.
But I felt a little bit like it was somehow Palpatine returned.
I know.
That's like, why are we waiting until the last 2 episodes for the big bad of the whole show, basically, but also this season to do anything significant?
He is such a good villain. He is such a good villain.
I feel like we should have been seeing a lot more of this, like him doing his cloning experiments, and he's trying to create Force clones. Like,
yes,
that could have been little 2 to 3 minute scenes through every episode of the season to give us background on what is Moff Gideon doing right now.
We had those clones when I saw those 16 Moff Gideon clones. I thought, oh, now this is interesting. This is interesting. And then 5 seconds later, dead, gone. Storyline over. It's like, what?
And how compelling would it have been if we would have seen that in the first episode, second episode, but they kept it a mystery the whole time of where is his secret base?
Yep.
Like, where is he operating from? And the big reveal would have been he's on Mandalore.
Didn't we say the same thing about Snoke in episode 9? Where we're like, oh, if they had all these extra Snokes, wouldn't it have been fun if like Rey or Kylo kills Snoke, but then boom, another Snoke pops up? Why didn't they do the same thing here? Oh, one Moff Gideon gets captured. Oh, there's another one?
And one that can use the Force, and he has to throw down with Grogu?
Bro, the writer strike is happening soon. We need to call up Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, and be like, yo, those writers, let them stay on strike. We got a great story for you.
Jon Favreau is the writer. There's no other writer.
Is he going on strike?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, that clone scene, I don't know. What did you think? I was so mad.
Well, I was straining my eyes like, who is it? Who are the clones? Because I thought for a second, they're not going to show us.
Yeah.
They're going to keep that blurry in the background. And I'm like, is that a Snoke? Is it a Palpatine? Like, what is this? And then when it was a Moff Gideon, I was like, oh, I thought it very interesting. Very intriguing.
Yes.
And then it opened its eyes. And I thought, before we could even absorb and just let it rest on our palate, they're genocide on all the clones. And I'm like, what? It just got interesting, and now you're making it completely irrelevant. But anyway.
Listen. There were so many good things about this episode. Let's talk about some of the good things. That aerial battle was amazing. Okay, that was very cool.
With the armor and Bo-Katan, slicing people up and hitting them with hammers.
It was too easy. You like seeing that. You like seeing, when Mandalorians are in their natural habitat against some wannabes, Mandalorians are going to win every time.
And the wrestler lady who like flew down and then like used her knee pads to slide across the platform and then dropped down and shot rockets out of her knees or
Yeah,
something. Like
yeah.
that was sweet.
And then the guy going out. Well, actually, he didn't go out. He rammed the ship into the base.
I
That was
thought for a
awesome.
second he was gonna die, but I'm glad he was like, all right, I don't need to stay here till the end. I don't need to pull a
Hold it.
hold a maneuver over here.
What else was good about this episode? I thought the fight between the Praetorians and Grogu was interesting and fun. It was kind of, I felt like they were setting up more Force abilities for Grogu other than just leaping and a little push once in a while. Is that the extent of? I mean, I guess he does Force heal and Force bubble, right? Are those his things?
So I have a couple thoughts on all this. One, our friend Trevor, who's a guest host, former guest host of this show, he texted us today and was talking about how he prefers Grogu in his little bassinet, because when the puppet walks around, he thinks it looks weird. But
Yes.
that this
Yes.
whole idea of him using IG-11 as like a mech transport, he loved that. And I have to agree that more than ever this season, we've seen Grogu jumping and flipping around and hopping, and it looks weird. It doesn't look. I know that this is a story
Listen.
about literally like space travel and like there's so many weird things going
No,
on.
I agree. I
I'm
agree.
being nitpicky on it, but it doesn't look natural.
Well, listen, just rewatch the scene where he's walking. They're walking into that Rebel base, or I guess the New Republic base. He's like, I was like, oh, dang, something's off here. But
Yeah,
yes,
and
it's a puppet.
so even when he was jumping into Lizzo's arms and when he's jumping across and the Praetorians are trying to slap at him with their little energy whips or whatever, and he's like, ha ha,
Yeah,
like
was he laughing?
yes, he's like babbling and laughing, and I'm like, what is happening right now? But that scene too, when I was watching with my wife was saying, I'm having a hard time recognizing what effect Grogu is having. Like I know he's moving some of the things, but it's like,
Oh, you mean in the fight with Din?
yes,
Yeah.
with the Praetorians.
It just seemed like occasionally. Oh, okay. Oh,
Because case in point, we just saw last week the Praetorians murder Paz Vizsla. Like they're not incompetent. They're the most elite force in the First Order,
oh, totally. Yeah.
Empire, whatever. Despite what you might see in the Snoke's throne room in The Last Jedi, where they clearly could have stabbed Rey in the neck multiple times, and instead they kind of twirl away from her. Very strange choreography, but
Hold
but
my tongue on that one.
in the theater it looked cool before you really broke it down. But anyway, but then when they start fighting Mando, they kind of have the upper hand again, but then Grogu kind of, well, I'm gonna push you off to the side, or I'm gonna move your energy staff away from you, and maybe that was enough to turn the tide, but it seemed like he wasn't. I was expecting him to like pick one up and either force choke him or throw him across the room or do something a little more substantial.
Wasn't it Hermione who was casting and chanting spells under her breath at that goalkeeper tryout?
Yes.
To kind of nudging that. Boom. That's what
Yep.
Grogu was doing. Boom.
That's exactly what he was doing.
Yep.
It was
No, I
like,
agree. It wasn't a lot of anything. He's a child, though. They can't have him crumple the guy's face.
I mean, he's 50 years old. But
He's still cute.
yeah, so I think that I enjoyed Grogu. I enjoyed seeing him use more of the Force this season. I think that some of the Force leaping and flipping around and stuff. Oh yeah, the duel. Remember the duel with the kid and shooting the and getting shot with the little foam paintball gun or whatever, and you're like, what the heck? Anyway, I thought that his movement was a little like interesting, but
yeah. Let's talk about the jetpacks. What is the capacity of a Mandalorian jetpack fuel? Is it infinite if they're going into space?
I think if you're on Mandalore, it's unlimited fuel. Because when they're on the other planet and the big old raptor pterodactyl thing steals your son, you can only go about
7 minutes.
A half a mile before you fall on a rock and then you go, I'm out of fuel.
These guys were going in and out of space, exiting the atmosphere with their jetpacks. Listen, nitpicking, fantastic. What happened to the TIE bombers and TIE interceptors?
That's a great question. What did happen to them? Because some of them got blown up, but did Axe take them all out?
I don't think. I don't know. There's no way.
It seems like that'd be unlikely.
Yeah. See, is there anything else we haven't talked about? I guess the adoption. I mean,
yeah.
I kind of felt like, wasn't he already his son, basically? Do we really need to make this so formal? Anyway.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah. So he wants to make him an apprentice, but since he can't speak yet, I'm like, why don't you hook up IG-11 again?
Yes.
Clearly, there's got to be some sort of technology in this galaxy to translate Grogu's thoughts or babbling into galactic basic so that he can communicate with us.
And take the creed.
Yeah.
Have the song be written.
Plus, if you're like, Grogu, do you want us to, if I say the words of the creed, if you say yes, that means you commit to it. Do you understand? Yes. I walk the way of Mandalore, never take off my helmet, and only look at mythosaurs. Do you agree? Yes. All right. You did it. You took the creed. This is the way. It just seems like the armor is a little wishy-washy on when she wants to be strict with the rules and when she doesn't feel like the rules need to be strict.
I feel like
she's like, he can't talk. He can't be an apprentice. What if the parents give a thing? His parents aren't here. They probably are dead. I'll adopt him. All right.
This is the way.
You're an apprentice. I'm like,
that's. She's like those camp counselors when they're doing those challenges, and you just have to keep asking questions until they're like, "Oh, you should try that." Wink, wink.
Yes. You know what Mandalore desperately needs?
A farm.
Bureaucracy. They need some organization of legal documentation of how things work. Because right now it's all word of mouth.
From one lady.
Who's keeping records of who's taking the creed? Who's adopting who? Who's taken off their helmet? Who's been redeemed? It's just all... Let me tell you one more thing that grinds my gears about this, Joseph. This whole show is that every time there's this big moment that's really cool, I inevitably get sucked into this mindset of there's only like 20 people on the screen right now. And this is supposed to feel, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, but in the original trilogy, the prequels, we had CGI where they actually made the armies thousands of people. But in the original trilogy, I feel like it was always small groups too, but it felt like a big galactic something happening.
Hmm.
And on this, again, when all the Mandalorians are flying in, I told my wife, I'm like, I think maximum there's like 35 Mandalorians here
Yeah, it's true.
fighting. And I'm like, is that all the Mandalorians left in the galaxy? And these 35 people are reclaiming an entire planet and repopulating and resettling this planet? It's going to take them 100,000 years just to get back to a viable
They
population.
just need to start making people foundlings. And you're a foundling, and you're a foundling, you're a foundling.
Yeah.
Well, it's at the lighting of the mine. It's not the mine, it's the
Forge.
There seemed like there were a lot more there.
Oh yeah, that's right. There were more standing there at that point.
But still not a lot.
But even still, I guess I'm like, I would have thought that at the peak of a planet in the Star Wars universe, if it's anything like our planet, billions of people live on it.
Yeah, no,
and
I
even
agree.
If there was a purge, I'm like, we went from billions of Mandalorians at one point to
100.
We're down to 100, even if it's only 1,000. Like, but I would still think there would be millions of Mandalorians somewhere, but maybe not.
Maybe that's season 4.
Maybe
Rounding up all the Mandalorians. I think more than anything, we need to see Ahsoka before we really rule on this season, I feel like. Because maybe we'll be watching Ahsoka and we'll be like, oh.
Well, let me ask you this, because would you be upset if that was the series finale? If there's nothing else, are you upset with the product? What more do you want to see out of Mando and Grogu?
That is a great question. I am more happy with that being a series finale than a season finale. If they came out tomorrow and said, gotcha, that was the series finale, I'd be like, all right, that was a great wrap up. The villain is dead, supposedly. He went out like Phasma, so I'm assuming that's his death. Their nice little hut doing things, still his apprentice. We can bring him back in other shows, but this is now over. I'd be happy with that.
And maybe they're pivoting to focus on the Ahsoka show, and they don't want to have to be trying to do 3 seasons of television every year in this same universe and have it all be connecting. They're like, okay, let's take a break on Mando for a few years.
Oh, you think we'll get like Ahsoka season 2 before we see Mando 4?
I don't know. It took us 2 years to get 2 years passed between Mando 2 and Mando 3.
Yeah, we had Boba Fett sandwich in between, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from what I'm hearing, the Acolyte sounds fantastic. Ahsoka just looks good. And Andor is obviously going to be top tier. So it's not like I'm really going to miss Mandalorian, because there's going to be great stuff that seems to be filling in. You know? I'm more happy if that's the series finale of the show.
I have a hard time believing that it is.
Well, let me look it up. Have they officially announced a season 4? Okay. According to Jon Favreau, The Mandalorian is already definitely getting a 4th season, and it's already written.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Huh. He's already got ideas.
Well, listen, there you go. But I agree with you. I'm like, what else do I need to see from Mando? Would I enjoy seeing him and Grogu go on more adventures? Sure. But I don't know that there's anything like burning questions left that we like have to answer, we have to see unfold.
Yeah.
Other than Grogu just continuing to grow and grow up and like.
But that hasn't been happening. I mean, okay, I take that back. Yes, it has, but it's been real slow. So it's not like
some people are saying, because it's Star Wars Celebration, they announced
Rey's thing.
A movie 15 years after Rise of Skywalker with Daisy Ridley coming back. They said 15 years after Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, dang. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And that, so it being 15 years after Episode 9, she's establishing the new Jedi Order. And, people have obviously calculated then that Grogu will be about 100 years old at that point, which is when Yoda started to train Jedi. So people are like, could Grogu... I don't think that in the Mandalorian timeline, he ages so slow. I don't think that we're going to, like, from one season to the next, like Guardians of the Galaxy with Groot, that all of a sudden he's like a teenager or grown up. I think it's going to be very slow. But maybe Grogu shows up with Rey in the post Rise of Skywalker era.
I've been muted this whole time. I said, oh, that'd be interesting. I would like that. That's what I said. For those of you who can't read lips. Should we talk about what else was announced at Celebration? We got that movie. We have beginning of the Jedi Order movie, which I assume some part will take place on Octo. Then we have a High Republic movie? No,
the 3 movies they announced were the Dawn of the Force, which is like the
10,000 years ago, right?
Yeah. And it's supposed the guy that's directing it said that he wants to make it like a biblical movie type thing, like a biblical epic, similar to like the 10 Commandments or whatever.
And her or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Rey's movie.
And then Filoni's movie.
Filoni's Mandalorian, wrap it up with a nice bow sort of movie. Okay.
But then either Kathleen Kennedy or Filoni said that movie, his movie, wrapping up the Mandoverse in a movie, won't happen for like 6 or 7 years.
That's what yeah. Okay.
So obviously they've got to get through multiple seasons of Ahsoka if they're doing that.
And another one of Mando?
Yeah. So we got some time.
Well, I mean, Thrawn is the next one, right? Thrawn is the next bad guy. Maybe they're just killing off Moff Gideon because they're like, well, we can't have Moff Gideon and Thrawn, so let's get rid of Moff.
And that was alluded to in last week's episode that, Gideon's like, hey, you keep saying Thrawn's coming back, but
he ain't here.
We haven't seen him.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, next on my list is Star Wars Visions. Oh, I still need to finish and start Bad Batch Season 2. We'll get to that later. Star Wars Vision Season 2 comes out in just a few weeks on May the 4th, as well as Jedi Fallen Order Survivor comes out, the sequel to one of the greatest Star Wars video games ever made, as well as Ahsoka comes out in August. So we have a summer full of Star Wars coming up.
Yeah. So I feel like even though we are in a long, long drought for Star Wars movies, we're getting a lot of Disney Plus Star Wars content, which is nice.
What's the first movie of those 3 coming out? Did they give timelines for any of them?
I don't think so.
Wow. So there's literally nothing. I mean,
Well, and then someone you sent me the link to the article or whatever where they're talking about the Taika Waititi movie, and they're like, yeah, he's still working on the script. I'm like, he's not even done writing the script. It might as well not even be it. Like they're talking about all these movies that they've announced, and it's like they announced Taika Waititi's movie 4 years ago, 3 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, they announced Ryan Johnson's trilogy 5 years ago.
Yeah. So it's like, what? I mean,
Eventually.
it's obviously not that.
He didn't say
urgent.
when.
It's not that urgent of a priority if after 3 years it's like, hey, if you can't sit down and write the treatment for your movie script in 3 years, then do we actually have an idea? Do we have a movie? Or is it, no, we don't?
That's what I don't understand. I don't understand the whole process of these guys who write the movies, but also have like all these other projects. Like they're directing and they're acting in these shows and movies. I'm just like, you do a rough draft, then hand it off to someone to flesh it out, right?
Well, I feel like who am I? I'm not a Hollywood executive. I'm not a producer. I don't know.
Listen, we're part of the press.
Right. We're part of the media. But in my mind, it makes sense that the entire Star Wars Disney era, we have seen this formula of Lucasfilm says, we want that creative person to work on a Star Wars project. So we get them. We say, hey, work on your Star Wars project. And then what all hell breaks loose.
That creative mind does what that creative mind does, and then
that creative mind is like, well, we're going to kind of, and whatever their timeline is, and they got other things, and I actually also signed a thing with Netflix, or I'm doing Thor Ragnarok, or whatever it is. Star Wars is like, okay, well, whenever you can, Ryan Johnson is making 50 Knives Out movies, so maybe when we're 85 years old, he'll start making his trilogy. You know, it's just like whenever you guys can fit it into your schedules. But we've already announced to everyone that you're going to do one, Kevin Feige. We don't know when, since you're literally running Marvel. But, maybe you can come direct a Star Wars movie at some point. We announced that to everyone with literally zero plan or infrastructure for how that's going to happen. To me, it makes much more sense for Star Wars to say, we are Star Wars. Like, we are one of the most iconic, recognizable
foundations of American
massive
culture.
IPs and franchises in history.
We're not going to be asking people to come. You come to us.
I would be saying we want a movie to come out about this. This is our story treatment, or this is like where we want to go, the direction we want to go with Star Wars. We want a movie about this by, in 3 years. If you're coming on board to write that or direct it or whatever, then this is what you're doing it now. It's not hey, do you want to do a Star Wars movie? Cool, let's announce it. And then I guess if we'll put it out in 10 years, whenever you can do it. No. We set the timelines for the projects that we want to complete, and then we hire people, hire directors, hire writers, whatever, to then complete the project according to the timeline that we have for the studio. I don't get how it works the other way around. But
I agree. How has it been 3 years since the Star Wars movies come out? And how much stock should we put in these announcements? This is what surprised me most about those announcements. Everyone, including myself, was like, oh, sweet, a Rey movie. Oh, a beginning of the Jedi Order movie. Oh, a Mandiverse movie? That's awesome. And then like a day later, I was like, I am not going to fall for this again until I see that movie in theaters. Or I see a trailer or something. I'm not going to hold my breath because I've been burned so many times before.
You know what's crazy is that I think that maybe I could again be completely wrong. Is it that they're just trying to emulate Marvel? Because Marvel in their showcases will like give this is the name of the movie. This is when it's the date we're planning for it to come
But
out.
they have
This
actors and actresses tied to it too.
The director's already on board. The casting is done. This is the actual logo for the movie title. Like, these things are like planned out, and there's a lot of detail. And Kathleen Kennedy's getting up there like, here's one Dawn of the Force era, and James Mangold or whatever his name is gonna do a biblical movie. I'm like, what's it called? You don't even have a title for the thing.
They don't even have a script yet for Rey's movie. Did you see that report?
Yeah, they don't. I'm like, announce the movies like the day it goes into production.
Yeah, there you go.
The day you start shooting, or even not even shooting, but the day that it goes into production, where you start your casting,
the first official day, whatever day that is.
Yeah, then you announce it. It'd be interesting to go back and over the last 10 years, however long it's been, 8 years since Disney bought Star Wars, and to go back and try to count how many projects have been announced that still have not happened, or what have been announced that it's not going to happen anymore.
Han Solo 2. Whatever the movie was planned to be right after Rise of Skywalker, wasn't it like a Yoda thing, or it was a Obi-Wan? I can't remember. It
was an Obi-Wan, it was a Boba Fett, it was a Yoda. Like, yeah, there were all three of those were named as standalone potentials. Rogue Squadron.
Yep. I mean,
Rian Johnson's trilogy. They announced Rian Johnson's trilogy before Last Jedi came out. That is what is so crazy. I remember when they announced that thinking, I was hyped. I was like, they think this guy's so good. I'm like, Last Jedi is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it just...
And it was.
It just...
Listen, one of these days when I have all this extra time, I want to make one of those hour-long YouTube video essays about all the reasons why I love Last Jedi.
We've already done that. You can't speak for an hour about it because all you have is it has so many great moments. That's the depth. That is the depth of your review of The Last Jedi.
Shut up. I didn't have more than that. But there are so many good moments in that movie.
I think there are. I actually think there are too. I will say.
It like subverts expectations everywhere you go.
Listen, the best thing that could help us come together and bridge the schism that existed in our relationship because of our opinions on The Last Jedi was Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah. That garbage fire.
Because The Last Jedi was a great movie compared to Rise of Skywalker.
Listen, we've talked long enough. That was the end of season 3 of The Mandalorian. Ahsoka's coming up next. Are you going to see us in between now and then? Probably not.
What are you talking about? What about our Bad Batch season 2?
Season 2.
Visions.
We may need to have Shane or someone on here for Visions.
Let's just have Shane do a solo review.
There we go.
And we'll just slap the Dads of Dagobah intro on the front of it.
And they get all the ad revenue.
Anyway, you may see us before August, but if you don't, we hope you have a great summer.
Hacks. And this has been the Dads of Dagobah.
And until next time, I guess, you know what? I think that now that The Mandalorian is over, we got to find a new outro. Leave a comment down below what you think our new Dads of Dagobah outro should be. Preferably Star Wars related, but not a requirement. It can be anything. And until next time, enjoy other videos on the channel. Okay, bye.
Keep those socks salty.
Keep them salty, people.